Jesse, one of the things that I think you were going to help us out with today was, the Biden administration has put out kind of seems like they're putting into process this loan forgiveness of part of people's federal student loans. And there's I think there's some application that's up and running to be able to actually accept those.
Yep, that's right. So they were actually going to release an application in early October, but that got pushed back. But it's now available. So if you just go to studentaid.gov, and I'll even share my screen so you guys can see that. So if you just go to the homepage and click apply now, you can, there's other pages that list the qualifications, but the actual application itself is super simple and short. Okay. They're just asking for really basic information. It sounds like they're going to do the verification on their end to make sure that you actually do qualify. You may be asked to submit some additional information later about your income, but it's very short and simple. You don't have to log in or create an account, as you can see. So the point is, get it done, do it ASAP so that you can potentially have some of that forgiven before payments restart in January. And they haven't promised that that's the case, but I just spoke with a client yesterday who said she received an email after completing the application, and it said something about her application would be processed by mid-November. So I don't know that that's the case for everybody, but that's good news.
So at first, one of the things I was concerned about was that it might be a situation where everybody's got to track down their own loan service provider and everything and get on there. But it looks like they're making it a little bit easier.
Yeah. So if someone had made payments though before this, so let's say they've made payments through the pandemic, even during the forbearance period, they could contact their individual loan provider to ask for a refund of those payments. So especially people who have less than $10,000 in the non-Pell loans, they should definitely ask for a refund and try and get that at some point so that they can also get that forgiven.
Super. So they wouldn't necessarily go through this beta app on the studentaid.gov. They would just contact their servicer.
Correct.
Remind me, any payments made during that forbearance period that people say you had more than that $10,000, is that was all applied to principal, right? You're not paying any of the interest with those. It's kind of the benefit of making those payments. Yeah.
Yep.
So.
That's
awesome.
The
timeline I was reading was that after you submit the application, you should expect to see forgiveness in 6 weeks, and that your loan service provider would be reaching out to you when that came through.
Does everybody did I hear there's some automatic ones that you don't even have to go onto the app, and some people actually get the loans forgiven without having to do that? Or
yeah, so the whole idea is the DOE already has a lot of income information for a lot of people, but it's all about the timing of it. So looks like people who submitted a FAFSA application for the 2022-2023 academic year, that is based off of income from 2020 and 2021. So ideally, if you submitted that application, they already have your income information and they can just go ahead and do an automatic forgiveness. Same thing for borrowers that are enrolled in an income-driven repayment plan. If those borrowers recertified their income in 2021 or 2022, because that would also be based off of income from the relevant tax years of 2020 and 2021. That said, I think it's still a good idea to just go ahead and do the application. It's so simple. Let's not rely on the DOE to find every single borrower that falls, within these categories. But yeah, theoretically, automatic forgiveness for those folks.
That's super. And you talk about people who are recertifying their income, and I assume by those people we're talking about people who are certifying it for the purpose of public service loan forgiveness, which is out there anyway. Is that right?
Yeah. So
yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, yeah. I mean, there's a public service loan forgiveness that's been out there. Was that back in 2007? They set this up to kind of encourage folks. They know that incomes aren't great in public service jobs or nonprofits, so it's this incentive that if you work there for 10 years and make 10 years of qualifying payments, you have to be a full-time employee, but you make 120 payments. They're gonna forgive your loans. A couple things they ran into though is that you need to have certain loan types. So you needed like a direct loan. You also had to be under a certain repayment plan and income repayment plan. So they found that like a lot of folks were going through this process thinking that they were going to qualify for this forgiveness, only to get to the finish line and figure out that they didn't jump through certain hoops.
Yeah, I run into people like that.
Yeah, some of this needed some reapplication. So they made that effort just recently to kind of reopen it up and allow people to line these things up and make sure that they're going to qualify for the loans. But like you were saying, that it may have been people that were originally trying to qualify for this that are reapplying for this kind of one-off thing.
And one thing I think, people that don't adequately appreciate, even if you're not in public service loan forgiveness, if you go under an income-driven or income-based retirement repayment plan, you're still eligible for forgiveness after a period of time, and the time depends upon the type of repayment plan that you're on. But I think the longest is like 25 years for a. Now, hopefully, most people would be done paying off within that period of time, but at least there's that stopgap out there for federal loans, right? That goes out 25 years.
Yeah, and just something that's unique about the public service forgiveness and what's being forgiven now by this administration is in other forgiveness pieces that are outside of this, there's a tax implication, right? So we're always kind of planning for that tax bite down the road because whatever's forgiven is treated as income. These forgiveness programs are not going to have that aspect. So you really are having everything forgiven, and it's not going to impact you when you file your taxes that year.
Can you imagine somebody in a situation where they still have a substantial amount of student debt, and the good news is it's forgiven. The bad news is look at this tax bill you just
Uncle Sam's to have it forgiven,
and that's not going to be forgiven.
Right. Sam's going to get his cut.
So that's cool. There's something I know that with public service, one of the other things was like the family federal family education loan, or FFEL loan that was administered. This is, I think, back before like 2006 or something like that, and it didn't kind of qualify under public service loan forgiveness, but it could be qualified if you kind of consolidated it under a new kind of conforming federal direct student loan, and then it could qualify for it. And I think something like that is applicable to this 10,000 and maybe 20,000 loan forgiveness now, right?
Yeah, I was reading about that. So the administration kind of backtracked on the whole FFL and Perkins loans thing. So initially they were saying, consolidate and you can get this debt forgiveness, before December 31st, 2023. But then they backtracked and said you had to have consolidated those specific loans into a direct loan before September 29th in order to qualify. So, I mean, that still means basically any private loans are not eligible. And if you haven't consolidated, you're kind of out of luck at this point.
That's the one simple thing there, is that if we're talking about a private loan, if we're not talking about something that's a federal direct student loan, then it's pretty simple. It's not going to get forgiven probably, unless there's like a bankruptcy or some extenuating circumstances. So, and the way I've kind of come at it with clients, if they're not sure whether it's a private loan or a federal direct loan, the two ways of looking at it. One is go to your credit report, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, private loans show up there and the federal direct ones don't. And the other way of looking at it is to go out to the website you just showed us, Jesse, which is kind of keep track only of your federal direct loans and not of private loans.